Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Spincast. Today, we are once again talking about collegiate esports, this wonderful scene that's growing really fast, is already really big, and looking for that next step. So today, we're going to be talking with Stephen HABERMAN. He is from Eastern University. He's the head esports coach there. So without further ado, Stephen, go ahead, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit of your background, how you got involved in esports, and how that ultimately led to being the head coach of the esports program at Eastern University.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me on. So I'm a gamer throughout my life. I've always been playing games. I grew up on portable gaming, Game Boy, PC games with the Sierra classics like King's Quest. And then, I graduated to consoles when I hit high school. I've enjoyed every console. I own all the modern consoles, so I don't have a particular favorite. Because I was brought up on portable, I play mostly Nintendo now. But I've got my PS4, my Xbox One, my PC. So you play a little bit of everything.
Yep.
And I've always loved gaming. When I got out of college, I wanted that community of gaming to continue. And for a while, I struggled to really find a home for that. I would try to dig in on a particular game, or maybe I'd find a specific website that I'd stick to. So I found some sticking points on like IGN.com. They had a kind of blog community where I got involved with them. I have listened to Giant Bomb and the Giant Bomb cast and their crew for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And when I really connected with those environments, it led me to different either specific games or specific kind of like expertise you can get into. So with IGN, I learned how to write. I started becoming a freelance games journalist. I did some previews, some reviews, and kind of my claim to fame is that I was a freelance guides writer for IGN for a period of time. So I was writing guides for like mini games like Game Dev Story on the iPhone,
Mm-hmm.
like The Heist, which was like a just basically a mini teaser game that was on the iPhone. And then I moved on to DLC for Assassin's Creed, Far Cry 4, and then I took big dives into Star Wars Online, Star Wars: The Old Republic Online when that came out. That ended my life. That was 20,000 words on one playthrough with one character,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, you know what? I would like to do something else with my life. But I learned,
Sure.
I got a sense of those communities, and then I went on to be a professional. I've worked in higher education for a decade, whether it be in admissions, in career services, and now I'm actually the software and systems administrator. So I've learned the software that runs, and I learned that I'm very good at teaching people how to use software, very much like a video game guide, except the game they're playing is incredibly boring. It's software.
For sure.
But as I grew to really connect that, always gaming and always now becoming this kind of steward of software, I really saw that I was coaching people on how to use things and how to train on things. And one of the last guides that I worked on at IGN, I wrote the alpha guide for Heroes of the Storm, which was a MOBA. And that really taught me that environment, and it led me to like learn what is a MOBA. Let's watch some LCS. Let's catch up on what's happening with the Dota invitationals. So I got a real good sense of kind of what was out there. And ever since I've been at Eastern University, it was something that I had heard the school was potentially interested in doing, and I put my hat in the ring for someone who would run with it. I've always been great at launching something. I've always been an excitable person. So they said, esports. I was like, absolutely. I will that will happen. I will make that happen. If it has to be me, I will do it. And that's kind of how I found myself in my position now.
Awesome. Incredible backstory. Really goes to show that type of archetype that, gaming is more than just playing, right? It's like freelance writing these guides, coaching, learning the softwares behind it, right? There's so much that goes into the games themselves, and then into the competitive side of esports, so much more on top of that as well, now that you're building the program at Eastern University. So tell us a little bit more about the program at Eastern University. Are you student-led? Obviously not completely student-led, being that you're there.
Yeah.
How much funding do you get from the university itself? Is it a varsity athletic? Tell us kind of the specifics about it. Do you guys have an arena? Anything like that?
Sure. Eastern University has had a long-standing Smash Club on campus. They run anywhere from 10 to 50 strong year to year, and they're in their fifth year. So we had a community of people that wanted to get together and play. Some would play for fun, and many, and I would say, a dozen of them were very competitive. Would play locally or play regionally on competitions at the collegiate level or at a semi-professional level, where they were earning money for making it into the top three, top five. And so I heard that and connected with that community to ask, like, what would you need out of the institution if we were to say that you would become a varsity team? We would have a varsity smash. And we got some sense from there. The institution connected our esports into the athletic environment. So we are actually a varsity team. We are the first co-ed varsity team at the school. And what's very interesting about it is that the athletics have leaned on me directly to just say they accept that they don't know esports.
Mm-hmm.
They've just kind of said, like, you're the coach, but also figure it out.
Here's everything. Good
Yeah,
luck.
and that's really been such an amazing opportunity because the institution supported it. They said, we would like esports. We see that you're the closest thing to a professional that we have on the topic, and you seem to have the passion for it. So tell us what you need, and we will provide it. So we started, I was hired in December of last year to become the coach, start recruiting, and tell them kind of what we needed. Through that time, I identified about 1,200 square foot space, basically like 3 classrooms in size,
Mm-hmm.
of space that we weren't actively using for a specific program or specific
Mm-hmm.
class. And I said, you know what? That's it. That's your practice facility. It's got enough room to make it look good, feel comfortable and spacious, add a variety of both PC and console-based space, and really be a showpiece for the institution if we want to show that we're a Division III school, so we don't offer scholarship to any sport,
Mm-hmm.
but esports allows for that. So we said we're going to join the biggest division. We are going to offer competitive, if not overly generous scholarship for a school of our size, and we are going to make a splash in this environment. So we are a varsity program. We do have scholarship opportunities anywhere from maybe $500 a year for a student who really just wants to be a part of it and understands that they are not likely going to start potentially
Mm-hmm.
ever, but just
Yeah.
wants to be a member of this community who, as you said, like maybe they're just a real loving gamer that likes watching
Mm-hmm.
competitive esports and wants to be a content creator, wants to be a gopher. They're just like, hey, I'll get everybody water when they need it, or to the upper side, we are recruiting and working to try to recruit professional players that are moving from a high school professional career,
Mm-hmm.
maybe playing in competitive Rocket League or competitive Fortnite or the NALCS, and saying they want to go to school. So we're saying, all right, maybe we can do up to like 10,000 a year
Yeah.
for a really a talented player who has really shown that they are already at the top of the competitive edge, and they can help turn us from a new program to a competitive program.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah, absolutely love it. I love when the university can really give that money and that support, and also allow for the people that know esports to run the esports, right? Sometimes there is that confusing aspect of where varsity athletics is like, no, we're going to run it like varsity athletics traditionally runs. It's like, you got to tweak something in there, at least a little something to make
Mm.
it more to esports. Because I think there's a lot of things that esports can take from traditional sports, especially in the younger side of things, development, foundations, good habits, that kind of stuff, and bring it
Mm.
in. But also, esports is still totally different. you still have to address it like esports, not football or basketball or baseball. So I absolutely love to hear that. Sounds very fantastic what you have going there at Eastern University. So switching gears a little bit, focusing more on your players. We all know that esports takes a ton of time and dedication and ambition and passion to really bring that fruit. When you say you've already been trying to recruit the elite players, so when approaching trying to win championships ultimately, do you have any particular mindsets or practice routines or philosophies that you like to embrace to really help the players from a holistic approach improve their game at the collegiate level?
So you talked on a point that I want to address. Though we will be recruiting and up to and including professional players, we are not championship focused. We are student focused. So that is why I am saying, like, we'll bring in an enthusiastic person
Mm-hmm.
and put them next to a star in that
Mm-hmm.
game, and the star will learn how to be a coach, will learn how to uh, deal with loss, will
Mm-hmm.
learn how to identify the skill set that has made them be ahead of others, and
Mm-hmm.
help us identify the different skill sets that we can work on with other players to advance. And in the same sense, find ways through them understanding their skill and their ability will make them better, because they will now understand what it is they are able to do that is positive, and what they aren't able to do that needs improvement.
Yeah.
So we're going to be expecting our players to spend about 10 hours a week in practice and play. In a very heavy, let's say, playoff week, or a multiple games per week, we might have a smaller practice schedule. And those practices are going to be working around the student schedule. We are going to have our space open during the day, Monday through Friday, as well as open on most nights during the week, and pretty much all day Saturday, because that is primarily when the collegiate
Mm-hmm.
games are being played. For me, I can't tell you how to be better at Rocket League.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a platinum in Rocket League. I've got 50 plus hours of gameplay on it, but
Mm-hmm.
I can't fly, and somebody else can. So there will be things about, all right, there are skill sets, there's tutorials inside the game that are going to help you. If you do it with repetition, it's going to help you get there. And then when it comes to just learning on the fly, well, we're going to have to play a lot of games. We're going to have to play a lot of scrimmaging. I think primarily for us, scrimmaging is going to be the primary focus, and we're working on matching up with other athletic departments in our MAC, and in the MAC, it's the Middle Atlantic Conference, that already have esports, that are not new. We're actually going to be new this fall. So
Mm-hmm.
we're going to be playing for our first competitive matches this coming fall. So we're going to be setting up scrimmages with teams from every level.
Mm-hmm.
We have friends that just, again, as another hobby, I know I'm bouncing around here everywhere, but I'm a competitive pinball player.
Yeah.
And there's a pinball machine behind me in our little picture here.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned a lot of things from that community, and some of them are that other competitive pinball players are also higher education professionals working to launch esports at their institutions. So I'm saying, okay, if you're launching this fall, me and you, we're gonna have a scrimmage together. Now
Mm-hmm.
he's, the university of a state, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm 2,500 undergraduates at a small, liberal arts Christian institution.
Mm-hmm.
So I might be losing a lot of those scrimmages, but it provides me the ability to give my team the ability to see, what we match up against well, and what we need to work towards.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's always going to be out of our league, well, then we better know what it looks like,
Mm-hmm.
so that we can come
For
up with
sure.
unique strategies that can allow us either to catch them off guard, catch them by surprise, and win with the element of surprise to a team of that level, or we get comfortable with the idea that we might be losing these matches, but we need to be paying close attention to what they are doing to help us better understand the strategies that are beating us.
Mm-hmm. For
So a lot
sure.
of VOD reviews are going to be a part of our routines, and I expect we're going to be a Twitch partner, or well, we are a Twitch partner. So we're going to be posting a lot of our information online. We expect that our strategies are going to be very easy for our competition to find because they'll be on the internet. And I don't mind that. I want to learn from what our competition sees. I want to learn from the communities that are around these games, because I will never be. I'm in my 30s. I'm past my prime. I can't be an esports professional, but I can improve as a coach forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to use the communities around these games and the players that we have to help advance our strategies year in and year out.
Yeah, absolutely love that response there, and bring up a number of great ideas there. A couple that I want to dive a little bit deep into is you talked about, using losing to the advantage, right? And that's something I really love to harp on, so to say, with esports, because a lot of times when, especially in that amateur type league or collegiate, start to lose, you look for greener pastures, right? Like, you know what, I'm going to leave this team, I'll disband, I'll go look for a better team, better options, right? When in reality, you need to be sticking together and learning from what's making you lose, right? Is it this strategy? Is it this position? Is flank watch not doing their job? Is a player maybe not using their utility to the maximum? Is it communication? There's a number of things, right? The games are incredibly in depth, but using losses is a positive gain in looking towards improvement. Definitely great advice there.
That's one of the things that, like, when I'm talking to my players, these first players, these returning students that have never had an esport, that are, hey, I play Overwatch a couple hours a week, but I
Mm-hmm.
want to be on the team. I'm like, okay, how do you feel about losing?
Yeah. Yeah.
What if you spent a whole semester losing?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that? What do you think about that? What's that experience like? And, you know, do you think you can learn from it? Do you think it would be too difficult for you to experience? And, I've had a couple people that are saying, like, man, if we don't win a game, oh, I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be a semester for me. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, good. Well, then if you're ready to put in the work to improve and expand, then we're going to find ways to find the opportunities for winning.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. A lot of it, since esports is so new, that you have to keep that developmental perspective in lock. If you're not constantly looking, okay, improving, what can we use this in the future, then you're hurting yourselves, right? This isn't a well enough developed industry or sport or competition in esports to be like, okay, we can just get players and then start winning, right? This is the NFL where you can just go buy a new team and get Tom Brady and Greg Olsen, Cam Newton, or whatever, all the stars, and build something special. It's like, no, we have to build it from basically nothing. And having that perspective is always going to take you longer to get to success, but that success will, I believe, ultimately be greater for sure. Another point that you talked on was esports community. I absolutely love the esports community. A lot of it's really embracing, and like you said, there's competitive pinball people out there like, hey, let's set up scrims, let's get together, work on some VOD analysis, and develop both our programs at the same time. So speak a little more in depth to that community feel. There's obviously some negatives in the esports community and online toxicity and stuff, but some of those positive points, especially in your space in collegiate esports, what do you love to see? And then looking towards the future, what do you hope continues to grow or might change from that more negative aspect, if there is any?
Well, sure. First off, I mean, obviously, I would say the students anywhere from like age 25 to up, if they're playing in games, they might have grown up playing games online, and they might have grown up in the era of, this is my gamer tag, you don't know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
Or this is my, I'm on a website, here's my screen name, but you don't know who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And so that older generation, and that's not an old group of people, but an older generation of people who are kind of used to the um, incognito mode of talking in games. So they felt like they had the right, or they had the ability to kind of cross a line here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, our community now in Collegiate, we've got NACE. So I went to a NACE event. We were not competing. I was just there to, meet and
Mm-hmm.
greet and watch the competitions. The vast majority of it was very very respectful. And, one individual decided to, use an expletive or express himself in a way that wasn't really appreciated by the folks in the area. And the coach was a player coach. And he basically said, hey, if we were back at home you'd be doing laps. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, now we know there could potentially have been something there. Later on, that same player had another outburst, and this was an invitational, so he's playing
Mm-hmm.
multiple games. He's working through, and by the third round, that player wasn't there anymore
Mm-hmm.
because whether it was the coach, whether it was the other teams in the invitational, they identified that this was a problem. Wasn't really acceptable, and action was taken. So, and I will say, I have been a part of the internet for 25 of my plus that of years in my life, and I've seen bad. I've seen 1,000 times worse than what this kid did. And he's a kid. Yes, he's in college, but he's learning.
Mm-hmm.
So we respect the fact that these individuals are still in the learning stages of their life, early adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in the same sense, there are expectations. So for us at Eastern, we're a Christian institution. So I will tell you that for one, prayer may end up being a part, an active part of our gaming. It might be before every match. I'm not going to force religion upon any player, but it is something that the institution really supports. And if our team feels that that's something that they want, I'd be happy to oblige. But in the same sense, that's positivity.
Mm-hmm.
We are not going to be playing a game where the focal point of the game is to kill another individual. So we are playing Valorant, potentially. We are playing Overwatch. We are playing Fortnite. Um, you do eliminate opponents, but the goal, in Fortnite is to survive, and then it's animated. These
Mm-hmm.
weapons are not real,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not seeing, incredible violence being presented on screen. In Overwatch, it's magical, it's fantastical. And
Mm-hmm.
again, you're kind of knocked out and coming back around. It's very similar with. I think Valorant's probably the closest thing to what I would describe as violence. And yet again, it's a Counter Strike Overwatch.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a level of separation from gameplay and reality. I have nothing against CS:GO and Siege and Call of Duty. I play them myself, and that's fine. But as an institution, if we're representing ourselves in front of a community of people, we want to represent as close as we can to something that's reasonable. And we think
Mm-hmm.
that as a Christian institution, it's not something we can say like, "Hey, look at the clips of our greatest events," and you just see people exploding.
Or
So
not the
there's
best.
a line. And then in
Mm-hmm.
the same sense, when it talks about not game specific, it's that we are looking to build a community. I am not looking to be a leader in the competition space. I'm not expecting us to be a playoff based team, but I already am building our agreement that our players will be signing. It's basically a user agreement similar to what Twitch is. There'll be no hate speech. There'll be
Mm-hmm.
no talking down to our players or our opponents, and there will be repercussions if that occurs.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in the same way that the institution would take on someone who is disrespectful or mean and angry towards another individual, we are looking to build a community so that every player that comes through Eastern University is a respectful person involved in this space. So
Mm-hmm.
that if there's one bad apple, I'm hoping to graduate 50 good ones.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead of worrying about what is in the space currently or what can occur within the space, it is that we provide a collection of professional minds, professional bodies into the space that are going to engulf the community in kindness.
Mm-hmm.
They're going
Yeah.
to hug it out, and then I think that will help lower that expectation that you're going to run into a lot of anger and dissent in the community.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. I think a good analogy for that is like look at traditional sports, right? On the field, like you're gonna have that rivalry, right? The Yankees, the Red Sox, Duke, UNC. But most of the time the game ends, those players are shaking hands, swapping jerseys, signing
Yeah.
each other's jerseys. They might be, going to hang out later or whatever. They still respect each other. There's in-game rivalry and that in-game competition. but that's not bad blood, right? And
Hmm.
trying to get some facets of esports to tradition or transition towards that, I think would be better in the long run for sure. Where everyone, once the game's over, like, hey, we're still friends, we're still gonna go celebrate together. You guys won, that's awesome. We're gonna get you next time, right?
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so yeah, absolutely love that. I do have time for one more question before we do have to wrap up. So we talked a lot about, a little bit about recruiting and looking at some of these younger players coming into Eastern University, right? Getting them to find a place, a home, a community, so they can pursue their passions in gaming and esports. What advice would you have for those players, high school, middle school students that have these passions currently in gaming, but aren't really quite sure of what to do with them, right? They're not very involved in the esports scenes. They don't realize all the opportunities and potential that esports has right now, and it's growing so fast. So what advice would you have for them to, hone their craft, or um, any of those advice tidbits that come to your mind to help them get to that next level and play collegiately?
So first off, I would say that when I wanted to improve as a player, I would look at what's in game that is designed to work yourself up. Tutorials, kind of one-on-one matches, or just presentations to show me exactly what it is that I have in front of me. So some research or just some studying. Like if you're playing a game like League of Legends and there's 100 characters that you're going to go up against, you need to know as much as you can
Mm-hmm.
about what everything looks like and what sorts of speeds to which those attacks occur, they come in or they defend, what's a good counter to an existing character. So kind of internalizing and bringing a guide to that game to every game. So if you're playing a game and you feel like you're doing really well with your one character, but if you run up against, a um, Renekton, you get owned. It's like, okay, well, what's good against a Renekton? Let's learn those. If you haven't played those before, let's start playing those characters so you learn why. And maybe it makes you better at the player that you usually are playing, or maybe you learn a new player. So diversity in your play. Add new players, new characters, new experiences to the games that you enjoy so that one, it doesn't get stale. And two, you are then internalizing new information about all the different characters to which you are playing. And now, if you're playing something like a Rocket League, where the game itself is not going to change entirely, play a game and see what beat you, or
Mm-hmm.
what you couldn't do, or what you decided not to do at that time because why? Answer the question of
Mm-hmm.
why. If you didn't go for that shot on goal because you didn't know where your team was, start looking for team members that will communicate so that you can get on a headset, get on Discord, get into chat, and converse with them about what they're doing so you know at that time what to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't get up there because you're not good at flying, well, get in a tutorial and practice hitting the ball from the air.
Awesome.
And then finally, just if you're already playing and you like it and you want to do it more, there's 100+ institutions in the United States that are ready to provide you scholarship so that you can go to school at a discount and play on their team. Eastern University is just one of those schools. Uh, for all intents and purposes, I'd love for you to go to Eastern, but you don't have to. We're in the suburbs of Philadelphia. If you're from California, go somewhere closer. If
Mm-hmm.
you're from Georgia, go somewhere closer. If you're from Philadelphia, we're a Christian organization. So if you'd like having a faith-based practice in your life as part of your education, we'd love to see you. If not, it might not be the place for you, and that's okay. The
Mm-hmm.
important part is in the research that you do for your game, do it for the institutions that you're looking for, and
Mm-hmm.
express that you're interested in playing games at that school. Find a way to get on YouTube, talk to your parents if they're not approving of that. Talk about getting on a Twitch channel, get video of you playing, track your statistics, and share those with the schools that you're interested in so that we better know you.
Mm-hmm.
If every student currently who plays games and wants to play more in college just had a web page that says how they do and which games they play, every institution in America would be fully stocked with a roster. Every student that was on that website would have a scholarship to go to college. Right now, that's a weakness. That's a lack. So if you want to go to a school and you want to go and play esports at that school, make it easy for the institution to know what you play and how you do. And you will very quickly find that you're not just finding schools, schools are finding you.
Awesome. Couldn't agree more. Some great advice, all packed in those couple of points you made there. Couldn't agree more. Taking that passion, dedicate yourself, use your ambition and get to that next level and go out there and find it. Go out there and achieve it. It's not going to come to you. There's just too much in the esports world. You have to go get it. So couldn't agree more. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. Real quick, Stephen, plug yourself, where we can find you, where we can find Eastern University. If you want to learn more, talk to if any of our listeners want to pick your brain about what's offered at Eastern University. So tell us where we can find all that information real quick.
Absolutely. You can go to eastern.edu online to go to our website and read about the institution. You can go to twitch.tv/Eastern Esports, no spaces or anything like that, to find our channel. You can find me personally, twitch.tv/HABERMANIA. Haberman
Awesome.
IA. Yeah, thank you. And if you're reaching out to me, my name is Stephen with a PH, Haberman. You can email me at Eastern. You can find my name on the website. You can look up Eastern Esports online to find all of the ways you can contact us and reach out to us. My email, stephen.haberman@eastern.edu, if you have questions and want to reach out to me directly.
Awesome. No one hesitate to do that. Like we talked about, community and esports, we all want to see it grow. If you reach out to anybody, we'll help you find it, even if it's not for our particular institution or whatnot.
That's
So
right.
everyone out there in these unprecedented times and very difficult times with the current pandemic, stay healthy and stay happy. Take care of your loved ones and yourself, and ultimately stay plugged in.